So one of the best things that your church can do, in my opinion, is consistently, that's the word, consistently create video content that really helps encourage people, really helps to strengthen them in their faith. The problem though is usually one of two things. It's either time or resources. That's why over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to consistently make video content for your church week in, week out, month in, month out. Specifically though, around YouTube Shorts. That's what we're going to be using. You might be asking why YouTube Shorts and not like long form videos. Well, long form has its benefits, but short form content can get right to the main point. It's very easy to consume. And let's think about it for a second. Like if someone sent you a 1-minute video versus a 45-minute video and you didn't have context of church or ministry or anything like that, what would you be more likely to watch, right? And lastly, shorts can be uploaded to different platforms as well, therefore increasing your reach if you so choose. So in this video, we're going to focus on two things. We're going to focus on the concept first and then the editing portion. I also want to show you how I personally like write and record things, but I think just because that's going to make this video way too long, I should set that aside for like another video in the future. So without further ado, let's jump right into the concept. So that's a pretty big claim that one of the best things that we can do as people in church media is to consistently create video content. There are three main reasons why I think that's the case, specifically around short form content. Let me give them to you really quickly, then we'll jump right into how you can actually go about making these videos. So the first thing, they're really easy to batch create. Like you can easily do multiple months worth of work ahead of time in about even a day. Now, this obviously depends on how proficient you are as an editor, but I remember when I was first starting out making shorts myself, I wanted to do a few tests to see how I could do them consistently, because if it took too much time, like let's be honest, like it's really hard. Like I only have a certain amount of time. I filmed an entire month's worth, which for me was 2 shorts a week, so 8 in total in 20 minutes. Then all I did was set aside some time each week to edit the next week's pair, schedule them, and then I was done. I'll go more in depth about writing and scheduling and batching videos in my writing video, but you could also set aside like even 1 day a month and do all of them in a month. So 1 day a month, shorts done, videos done, scheduled, off your plate. The second reason why I think that short form video content is one of the best things your church can do is it keeps the face of the leadership in front of the people, encouraging them throughout the week. So think about it. You're building rapport with the people that you serve every single Saturday or Sunday when you are your lead preachers, but now you're not only seeing that person and hearing from them on the weekends only, but throughout the week as well. You're building relationship, you're increasing trust and encouraging people. And lastly, I would say short form video content can be just so flexible, right? You can share a devotional that's on your heart. You can start a whole midweek devotional series around your main messages on Sundays to complement them. You can address things and speak to things that your church is going through or that are happening in culture. You can share interesting facts that you've learned while studying out your messages if you're the one preparing the messages, or the interesting stories or things that you couldn't include in the weekend service because of time. Those are just a few reasons why I think that short form video content is one of the best things that churches can do. And here's the key, once again, throughout the whole video, is consistently. That's a disclaimer. Those are my thoughts. But now, how can we go about actually editing them in an efficient way? And before I jump into it and show you, I use DaVinci Resolve Studio to do my editing. I used to be like a longtime user of Premiere Pro, and I've used apps like Final Cut and CapCut in the past. There is something that I'm going to show you in my process that requires the paid version, but I'll also show you how to do that for free in CapCut, and we'll call it out so that there's no surprises along the way. Other than that, what I'm going to show you can be done in any video editor that you choose, whether that's like CapCut or you pay like me and get DaVinci Resolve Studio. So without further ado, let's jump into editing. So the first thing you want to do is you want to just import your footage. If that's like Command I, if it is, file, import, and then media, however you want to do that. Then in DaVinci Resolve, I will grab this and I will throw it down on the editor. Nice and easy. As you can see, what's going on here, some craziness. It's not vertical. It was originally horizontal. It was 1920 by 1080, but for vertical, it's 1080 by 1920. So in order to change that and turn it into a vertical project for short form content for like Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you go in here, use vertical resolution, make sure that your frame rate is the same as you recorded everything in, and you press save, and boom, everything's aligned now. And if you're curious and you're like, man, I don't know what I filmed my video in, what frame rate it is. Well, If you select the file, you can go to File, and then it'll tell you exactly what frame rate you shot it in. Okay, so now my first thing is I want to get a basic frame done. It's really difficult as much as the slat walls look great as a backdrop. They're actually pretty difficult to deal with because like you can tell when something's not perfectly aligned or straight. I'm not going to try to be perfect in this video, but I'll just like zoom in. I'll just try to fill the frame how I want it. Something maybe like that, you know, to start with. I'm like, you know what? That's okay. That looks good. It's not insane. I can see my face. And so that's good. Now what I would do is I would zoom in, and the way that I'm doing this is I'm holding Option and I'm scrolling. This is actually a pretty trimmed clip as it is. I did it all in, I think, one take, but let's say, for example's sake, I have a bunch of takes. I'll just make a new compound clip so you can see what that's like. So I would go through and I would like watch this. And I'm like, oh, that one's okay. And then if you look in the waveform, you know that there's a gap here. So whether that's you clapping, if that's how you want to mark it, or you take a big pause like this and then film the next one, you know that that's a break. So I would go through and I'd watch all the different takes and say, okay, which one was the best? Let's say it's the first one. I press B to get the blade or razor or whatever they call it in DaVinci Resolve, cut the clip, and then just delete all the other stuff. Now, let's say this is the clip that you have and you're happy with. How do we actually go about now making this into a short form content? So you want to go through and it has to be under 1 minute. Right now, we're actually not going to find an issue because as you can see, oh, we're just slightly over a minute. So it's not too bad, but we want to get that under a minute for sure. So I would go through and using B for blade or whatever, I would just go through. I'd start cutting things. I feel like being in radio for over a decade gave me a slight edge when it comes to generating creative ideas because we have to get this like 4 hours of content every single night on my show, every single week, like for over a decade. So the I don't need that. So once again, press B, cut this out like this, cut out these gaps. You can look ahead. And we're just visually editing this. Now, when I select it, you'll see that the clip that is separated here will be highlighted in red. You can just press delete, select the clip like this. It'll highlight in between and delete again. Now, you could do shortcuts for this. It's called a ripple delete, but I don't want to complicate it. I want to keep it super simple. So that's all you need to know how to do. I'll do it again. So you make cuts with B. See, B just cuts. So you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do, so I'm taking these out. So I select it. By the way, to go back from the blade to the main pointer is A. So B, blade, A is your cursor. You can also go up here. You'll notice it's highlighted in red, blade, cursor, whatever they call it. Select it, delete, 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 and then just click the gap in between, press delete again, that'll delete the gap. You go through the whole minute clip and you cut out all of the nonsense. What I will do is I will go through this really, really quick, do it all, and then I'll be back when it's completely done, okay? Magic of editing, go. Super speed. All right, so now we have our basic cut done. And if we go to the end of the clip, we see now that it's at 54 seconds, so it's under 1 minute. But the clip, it looks okay. You could technically export that and put that up. And I think for a lot of people, once again, consistently, that'd be good. But we want to be a little bit better because we're creatives and we want it to look super pro. So one thing that this needs is a bit of color correction. Now, if you look at DaVinci, okay, a lot of people get super concerned and confused. They're like, what even is all this stuff? What does it mean? Why is there like graphs here? Like what in the world? Looks like a lie detector test, all this stuff. You do not have to be afraid. You just need to know a couple of things. Now at the beginning, what I could have done, if I make this into like a solid clip again, compound clip, I could have applied the color grading just to this one clip and then cut it. So it would have been on all of them, but I forgot to do that. So another way that you could do it is if you go to effects up here and then you just type in the search bar, adjustment 80, and you drag it on over here and you stretch this out by clicking and dragging. See when the arrow looks like this? Click and drag to the end. By the way, if you don't have snapping on, it'll just kind of like free and it'll be like impossible. But if you click on this, snapping, boom, look at that. It just snaps right to the end and makes it perfect. Now, if I can explain adjustment clips, they're very powerful. They basically affect like a filter, everything from the top down. So if I do something extreme, I have the adjustment clip highlighted and I go into the color page and I like crank the saturation and I'm looking like, you know, I got like a 3-for-1 pass at the local tanning salon and I decided like, I want to do it one after the next. Like that's the situation and that looks terrible. But this is just to illustrate how adjustment clips work. So it affects everything underneath it. So I didn't apply any color correction to the actual video. It was just on the clip. See, so when I drag it over, boom, it's affecting it. If I move it, you see that the clip is fine. So I will apply my color correction specifically to the adjustment clip. This looks ridiculous. We don't want that at all. But let's say, maybe I want a little bit more contrast. So you can just hit the contrast a little bit. Maybe it's a little too warm. Maybe I want to just do a little adjustment like that. Just want to play. Maybe it's a bit dark. We want to raise it up a little bit. And now, you know what? It doesn't look too bad. By the way, if you can't see any of these things that I'm doing, you might notice that your screen looks like this. This is how you do it. I'm so sorry if this is getting a little bit complicated, but you just look for the clip, adjustment clip. You'll see it right here. If you don't even see clips, it might look like this. You press clips. If you don't see the nodes, click on here, and then you can make your adjustments and make it look better like that. You just kind of play around with these settings. You can look online too, how to do a basic color grade, how to do basic white balance, and they'll be able to help you with that. So we go back to the edit page, and that's looking pretty good. Adjustment clip, I'll turn it off and on. So it looks not bad at all. Okay, so that looks pretty good as it is. You have some color correction going there. It's looking good, it's looking better, but we can make it even more engaging. And how do we do this? Well, we can just do subtle zooming in and out. And as I said, this isn't like a super flashy video. This is just like base level, low hanging fruit. You can do your content like this just to emphasize points. So I believe there's a point in here where I talk about a story, like going to my friend's house. So why am I bringing it up? Well, I'm at a friend's house, right? Okay, so it kind of switches tones. So what I can do is I can click on that clip, I can go zoom, and I can just adjust the framing. If you don't see this, it's over here under inspector, video. Then you want to look at the transform controls. And I think your eye probably has a good idea for what like looks good, you know? So you're looking at that and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? That's good. So why am I bringing it up? Well, I'm at a friend's house, right? So it's a bit drastic. Maybe you can lower that a little bit to taste. You know, you don't want it to be insane. Okay, so that kind of jerked, so we don't want that either. Maybe you just want to bring it in slightly to kind of, it's almost like an attention grabber, just jolts in. Boom, so now I'm listening to that. Okay, let's say I continue on up until about here. You'll notice that these clips are the same as this, but this is the only one zoomed in. So an easy way to do that, right click, copy. You want to highlight as much of that as you want to stay zoomed in the same. Then you can just do paste attributes and you just want to make sure video attributes are selected. Boom, and that will stay all the way through. That was actually perfect right there. And then it zooms right back out. So now you have just some movement. Now I would say, what you don't want is this. Like that's insane. Like you don't want to do that. You just want to make it nice and subtle, right? So it's like you're catching people's attention, but you're not trying to make them throw up because that's insanity, okay? It's really about subtle edits. Now this is more fast paced, like it's clearly not smooth because I'm like cutting like in between where pauses are. So it's gonna be kind of like that, but you know, you don't wanna be too extreme. All right, so we actually have a pretty good edit going right here as it is. So we have the video chopped up. We don't have a bunch of awkward pauses. We took out any awkward ums or ahs, things like that. We got the adjustment clip to make it go from this. Ooh, that's not a good look right there. To that, just kind of doing some basic color correction there. Once again, like if you want to Google color correction, maybe I'll do a video in the future, but this is just super, very, very basic. We're just trying to get things to somewhat lifelike, a little bit enhanced, just a little bit. I know there's a difference between like styling it and then correcting it, but that's totally fine. Once again, that is beyond the scope of this video. So that looks good, very basic. Now, another thing that we can do is we can add subtitles. And as I mentioned earlier on the video, this is the part where you do have to pay for it if it's within DaVinci Resolve Studio. CapCut does do this for free. So I will show you how to do it in CapCut in a few moments, but first I'll show you how to do this within DaVinci Resolve. All you have to do is go to Timeline, create subtitles from audio, click that, how many characters you want per line. So I usually do like 23, 22, around there. Doesn't really matter. Language, it'll essentially detect all this stuff for you. And then you just hit create. That'll take a second and then boom, now you have subtitles. And I feel like DaVinci Resolve is super, super, super accurate. I think that this is actually really, really powerful, and it's usually very accurate as well. I do always double check because I don't trust the machines fully, and I'll make sure that stuff's like spelt correctly, but more that they get like the words right, because I might slur a word and it'll put something random in there, so you don't want that. But if you look now, when you click on the subtitle track over here, you can actually edit the entire track. So let's say you have a favorite. This is the font that I use. I actually don't know how to say it. I think it's called Son. I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyway, I like that. That's too bold for me. Go down a bit. I usually make it like 32. Now, look at that. That's actually looking really good now. Adjust the position. Maybe you want it to be in the middle. I think that actually looks phenomenal, and you could export, you could do your sermons like this, and you're essentially done. But you can get more creative with these things. You can add like drop shadow. If it's more on a lighter backdrop, you can switch to positioning as well. And you can like bring it over here. This is something that I do want to note. I actually created something for the sake of this video. So I created this social media safe area guide or safe zone guide, or however you want to say it, that basically shows on all the different social media platforms where you're going to have stuff like the share button and comments and likes and subscribe. And so you know that if your subtitles sit within here, you're going to be totally good. You're not going to notice anything. So I will actually, this is just a PNG that I made up in Photoshop to help you. What I will do is I will include that in the description as a free download so that you can just download this. And all I literally did, imported this, and I just dragged it kind of like we did with the adjustment layer just above stuff. And you can see, because now like I know that like if my thing was like this big, oh boom, this is going to look ridiculous. Number one, it's way too big, but it's going to bump into like any of the buttons over here, and that's no good. So as long as you're like this, so you're going to know that that's good. So I will include that for free. And just like that, you have a nice looking video that looks awesome. That will hopefully just bless and encourage people in your congregation. And that doesn't take too long. Me explaining it for the very first time, like it of course takes longer, but I'm telling you, if you film and have your camera set up and you film maybe like 4 or 5 in a row and you just cut them and you spend even half a day and you schedule them out and you do 1 a week even to just start, you're over a month's worth of content, boom, done, ready to go. And then you can like start tying it around your sermon series, and it's just an awesome way to go. The last thing that I didn't talk about is music. Music is important. It switches the vibe of it too. It could be more somber. It could be more exciting. It could change the energy. I am just going to assume that you do not have a subscription to like a music licensing software service, kind of like Epidemic Sound or something like that. I use Epidemic Sound personally, so I could put a link in the description as well for that. It is a bit pricey and it's kind of hard to find good audio that you would really want to use, but there is some gems in there if you search through it. But you can put music. If you make music, you can use that or whatever. And all you would have to do is drag it underneath the audio track and then lower the volume. So there are a couple things that we didn't get into, the minutia of, oh, how do you process the audio to get great audio? How do you set the music bed level properly? So these are all things for another video, but if you can even just get started and start playing around with that, I think that would do you so much good. So to recap really quickly, we took the clip originally. We chopped out the take that we wanted. We broke it down. We stitched it together. And then after that, we added some zooms where we're kind of punching in, punching out like that. Nothing too dramatic. We added an adjustment clip to make it look kind of from flat to, okay, that looks good. And then we added subtitles, and we made sure that those subtitles were in a social media safe zone. So you know it's going to look fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up that exact same project, but the way that I edited it, and you can see it on actually my YouTube short feed too, the final version. So this is me. I kind of went in and out. You can see like same thing. It looks the exact same. I have some of the zoom ins. zoom out's there, and then I got some music. Right, the other day, and they go, I literally have no good ideas. Like, how do you just come up with these ideas? Like, these creative ideas all the time. And I said, hey, like, if you spent all day doing math. See, and that looks phenomenal. And it's so easy to do. I have the adjustment clip once again with some color correction on it. I did do something fancy at the beginning, though. I just cut myself out and then put like another video clip underneath that. But other than that, like, you can crank out so many of these so fast and make it look phenomenal. I'm going to show you really quick how to do captions in CapCut, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, here we are in CapCut land. It looks very similar. It's very easy. It'll kind of look like this if you didn't import anything at all, but I'll go and I will re-get that. If you want to import some footage, you can just press the button import right here. You can do the universal command I to do that as well, or file import, same thing. Now, once you have your footage, just drag it down over here. B is for blade. You're going to cut out the awkward pauses, wherever those may be. And then when you're done, you want to generate captions for free. This is why we're doing it. So as I said, you can do all of the original editing that I was talking about, the base level editing in any program. But when it comes to captions or subtitles, as DaVinci calls them, you have to pay for the studio version, I believe. There are some ways around it for free, but it's just, yeah, let's not even talk about that. It's not very good. But yeah, so you go to text, auto captions, have your thing selected, press generate, and then through the magic of CapCut, just like that, I feel like being in radio for over a decade, you have captions that are absolutely free. No need to pay for it. You can also go then into the, up here in the top right, text. You can switch it to a font that you would want, that you think looks good, something like that. Now you can also go into like animations and stuff, and you can kind of make it very TikTok-y and stuff, but you got to be careful because it's very easy to get lost in this and over edit and then really take away from the things that you are trying to communicate and say when you're encouraging people. And it starts to feel like pretty gimmicky really fast if you're not careful. Like, not all of it's bad, but it can feel cheap really fast, which is why I do all my editing in DaVinci. But there you go. That is a way that you can get captions absolutely free. What you could also do is you can do all your editing in DaVinci Resolve because it's free, the free version, and then just bring that final exported video into CapCut, generate captions in there, and then export that. And that's another way of getting around that. And there you go. Just like that, exactly how you can start making content that'll serve your church on a weekly basis. And you might be thinking, well, Terry, those videos were a bit bland. They were kind of like that My Big Fat Greek Wedding thing where it's like,
so dry. That family is like a piece of toast.
And it's true. They aren't the flashiest, but quality consistency will beat flashy every day of the week, especially within the context. Like, the majority of people that I really speak to aren't doing anything at all, or are like overwhelmed and don't know where to start. So that's why today I wanted to show you how you can start consistently making videos. In order to be consistent, of course, we have to make it as easy and as accessible as possible. Then later on, you can start doing fancy things like the Alex Hormozi style captions, or like putting videos and text behind you, or, you know, even like tracking things. Now, I know that was only one part of the process. So as I said earlier, I am working on a video that'll show you how I'd go about getting ideas, writing those ideas, scripting, and then filming these videos in a very templatable way so that I can help save you and your church time while making sure that quality, of course, isn't compromised. If that sounds cool, I'll see you in the next video. I also just posted a video not too long ago talking about how I got started on my creator journey, how radio got me into video, which got me here. So if you wanted to check that out, I'll link it as well. Until next time though, God bless.